opportunities. We had a lot of opportunities to make plays, and we didn't. I don't think it was for a lack of effort. We just didn't make the plays that were available to us. And then they made a lot of plays. That quarterback's a special player, and that he was supported really well. They ran the ball hard in the run game. The receivers did a really good job finding space, finishing on plays. So missed opportunities on our end, and they capitalized on the opportunities we gave them.
And you spoke afterwards about being depleted a little bit there injury-wise, on defense. Is there a chance this week that you're get some of those guys back in?
Yeah, I think we'll be much healthier this week. The extra couple days really helped us. There'll be some guys that will be back later in the week, but they should be ready for the game, so we should have more assets available to us.
Yeah, how much can you take from the first game heading into this one because you're going up against such a different offense?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much. You really got to focus on you. We have so many things we need to get better at. Which we've been very honest about. Like, we knew we were going to have to be a team that gets better every week. So I think the danger here is making this about them instead of us. And we have a big week ahead of us with a lot of things we have to improve on, and to even give us a chance to go up there and win.
On the flip side, the offense was really good for y'all. I think you didn't allow a quarterback pressure, and then you ran the ball really well. Is similar game plan against the Navy? I
think everything's different week to week. Navy creates a whole nother set of challenges. I thought that the biggest thing I was proud of with our offense was they were decisive. We made mistakes. There was a lot of things that could have got us in trouble that didn't, but at least they were full speed. They were decisive. They were there was great effort on the offensive side for the most part. And when you do that, good things happen.
From a mentality standpoint, you're going from a team that you just played that kind of surprised people. I don't know if they surprised you, but like in terms of making it close, and now you're heading into a game where you're a big underdog. Do you take anything from an Alabama State? Do you tell your players of how they approach the game?
I think there's a lot of different strategies how to handle these things, and there's probably a lot of good ones. I think for us, the challenge for me is to find the one that fits who we are. And to this point with this group, as we still learning each other, the best approach has been just to focus on us. The exterior stuff doesn't really add motivation, inspiration to this group. I think this group really wants to chase their best and be as good as they can be and see where the chips fall, and that's going to be the approach. I mean, there are unique challenges when you face Navy, but none of them matter schematically unless you're getting better at your technique. You're becoming a better player. You're better understanding what we're trying to accomplish. So if it starts with us versus us, then by the end of the week, you can, create a little more, hey, us versus us, but, hey, this is what they do, and this is how we have to handle it. But really, we got to get better everywhere.
Coach, post-game, you talked about some of the differences you saw in that game, just the resiliency of your team after facing that adversity.
Yeah.
How have you thought about that some more since the game? And
It's a constant battle. I talk about the battles all the time, and that the battle between the ears is the most difficult one. And just because we did it once doesn't mean it's ingrained into our DNA yet. So when I say us versus us, that's a big part of what I'm saying is we got to handle the mental game, the mindset well this week. We got to be prepared for the adversity that is guaranteed in this game. I always tell them a lot of bad stuff happens in football games, and in everybody's mind, you go in the game, oh, we're going to do this perfect, that's going to happen. Oh, your expectations get all crazy, and then you get punched in the face, and all the bad stuff starts happening. You need to mentally prepare yourself for the bad stuff that is inevitable, and then how you respond to that stuff is ultimately how you're going to be defined in a football game. So I think a big part of us versus us is making sure that our minds are sharpened and understanding what most likely will happen in this game from an adversity standpoint and handling it to the best of our ability.
Coach, on Thursday you mentioned in the press conference you thought the offensive line had some missed assignments. Have you had a chance to go back on that film, and how could you guys improve on that?
No, I'll say overall they played very well. They all the 5 stars received game balls. I don't do that all the time, but like the big pictures they played very well. But there were some simple things that we didn't ID correctly, we didn't fit correctly that with how we do things are paramount to our consistency. And I think they have a great challenge ahead of them this week with everything that Navy does to play at the same temperament but become more consistent in doing so.
With Navy, with Blake Horvath, you've obviously played him a couple times and watched him a lot, I'm sure. Kind of what makes him who he is, and kind of added to that is, you're preparing for him, and then the Woodson kid goes 180 yards on 7 carries, last week. How much more difficult does that make it preparing now for them?
Well, I think we'll see both, and I think even Blake would probably support that decision. To answer the first part of your question about Blake, he's a really, really fantastic player, and I think he gets pigeonholed as a triple option quarterback. I think he could play quarterback in a lot of different systems. He just is his skill set allows them to do so much, both in the triple game and in the spread game. He's a very accurate passer. He's a very decisive passer. What they do in the passing game is very effective and explosive, and he executes at a very high level. He doesn't get the easy throws. A lot of his throws in the game are high impact, difficult throws, and he's very consistent making them. And then his ability, he can take it 80 anytime. He's an elite athlete. He's tough. He's super smart. A lot of what they do is on him at the line of scrimmage. So he makes a lot of decisions for them at the line of scrimmage, and he's very good at it. So, I thought we played a great quarterback last week. We played another great one this week. So, it's a huge challenge for our team. It's not just a defensive challenge. I think it's a team challenge when you play a player that is that exceptional. That you have to know it as a football team and play accordingly.
And for you, with Iverson Hooks, it seemed to me like he was playing faster, last week than he was last year. I mean, is he kind of back to where he was when you first got here before he had that knee injury?
It's a great question, Steve. Yeah, I remember the first day I ever saw this group practice on the outdoor field. It was winter training, and they were just running some routes, and coaches weren't out there, and I was looking from up here, and I didn't even know who he was yet. And I said, wow, that looks different, and he's finally back to that. He's playing at a very high speed. He's healthy. He's strong. I think the offseason program was very beneficial to him. And he's practicing and playing in one game, but he played the way he's been practicing, which is fast, decisive, strong, super engaged in the game, very competitive. I thought his blocking, he showed tremendous effort. He's never going to be a dominant blocker at his weight and his size, but his effort was there. And so, yeah, he's had a really good winter and fall or summer camp, and looking for him to have a tremendous fall.
From a leadership standpoint, what have you seen from the way Jalen's kind of progressed, and how important is that heading into a road trip?
Yeah, I think it's huge. He continues to grow as a leader. He's always had what I always called a fun way of leading. He's a fun kid. He's not he's not a yeller and screamer. He's just more of a conversational type guy. And I've seen him take steps in confronting drama in the practice environment and nipping it in the bud. I've seen him be challenged and respond well. And but again, I think he's like everybody else on the team. He's growing, but he needs to grow a lot more, and I think he's aware of that. And hopefully, we'll be a team that continues to get better in every element, not just how we play, but how we lead and how we come together. And Jalen's a big part of that.
Obviously, it's tough to win on the road, but that's something you've struggled with here. Just what's the biggest thing that has been the problem, and where do you see that improvement?
Well, I've tried to put my finger on it, obviously. and nothing's worked to this point. I think over the off season, diving into this heavily, we have not played with the energy and effort and resilience that you need to on the road. So I think that part of it, creating some how we travel, how we rest when we finish the preparation, hopefully will give them a little more energy, a little more juice going into the game. I think there's a style of football that wins on the road too, and we have not played that style of football. We have not played good defense. We have not run the ball consistently on the road, and we haven't finished drives. So, it's both. You got to have a better mentality, but you also have to play a style that wins on the road. And, an interesting exercise, if you want to guys do it, go to the road winners this past week in equally matched or semi-equally matched games and just do a breakdown of them. And there's typically a way that you can go on the road and win the game, and teams that win on the road do it, and the teams that don't. And we have to be good enough to play that style of football.
Coach, I'm sure not to start defensively you guys wanted with that new coaching staff. What have the conversations been like with Coach Russ, and what do you think his message to the guys will be ahead of this game?
Well, I'll let him, man. I try not to speak for other coaches. I just know that, there's obviously disappointment when you don't play to your standard, but at the same time, one of the reasons you're in this profession is to help kids fix it. And I think the first thing is we all take a look in the mirror as coaches and see if we could have done a better job helping them get ready, and then give them the tools during the week to fix it. The great thing about football is, you can flush it. A lot of times what happens one week doesn't carry over the next week. So we have to flush some of the things that happen, but then learn from them and make sure that you give the kids the tools to go out there and fix and make the corrections they need to make. I think our players, talking to them briefly Saturday morning when they were back in for a little workout and light practice was, they're excited about, the next opportunity. And, people will forget about Alabama State if they go up to Navy and play a good game defensively. So that's the opportunity that we have, and I think that'll be the focus this week.
From a special teams perspective, with punt and kick return, what did you think about that?
I thought we did a really good job. Again, I think it's been one of the bright spots all of last year and to start the season. I thought we were very solid in the kicking game. We will continue to press into the kicking game because that's where the inches are won. We had a really good Saturday. The one thing that I'm unrelenting on is that regardless, anytime we go to work, the special team starts the day, and it's a huge part of what we do. So John does a great job leading that. But I'll say this: John gets a lot of credit, and he deserves a lot of credit. But our entire coaching staff leans into it. It is an all hands on deck approach, and as I said in the press conference, we have lots of players that enjoy it. They take pride in it. And it's going to be something that we talked about, again, Saturday when we met. It's something that has to not just be good, it needs to become a great thing. And I think now the chase on teams is going from good to great. And sometimes that sounds really cool, but special teams is a thing that can break down. You can go from good to bad really quick, too, if you're not on top of it. So we got to make sure it's a point of emphasis this week, that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and that we're taking an approach that, okay, we played well week one, but week two has a different challenge, and we got to make sure we're buttoned up there.
You spoke about kind of turning the page and moving on to the next one. As a coach, how different is it as a coach and as when you were a player, maybe, to turn that page and to move on? Is it tougher as a coach?
I think that. Yeah, probably. As a player, I think you have control over it. Like you can fix things, and then you have control over the next opportunity. As a coach, you have all the power but no control. It's like we can give them good plans. We can address things we need to get better at. We can emphasize things we're good at. But again, it's really up to them to grasp hold of that information and go do it. So, yeah, I think it's much harder as a coach to I think the hardest thing that I found is not letting the worry and the fear and the anxiety of the bad things that could happen hijack your approach, because you want to come at it from a very optimistic, aggressive, attacking posture. And when you see habitual mistakes, when you see things that you know can be issues, the fear of those things crippling you. And I think all coaches struggle with this battle between can't versus can. Oh, we can't, or hey, we can and we will. And to me, that's been the biggest challenge as a coach is moving week to week, and not letting kind of that negative mindset take over.
And after the game, you talking about with Javon Jackson, you know, you weren't looking for a prima donna running back type thing. With the way that you guys use those three guys, how important is it that all three of those kind of accept that
Yeah.
sort of?
I think Danny does a great job in that meeting room, making it about, you know, the group, not about one individual. And we're fortunate to have high character people in that room, all the way from coach down to player and support staff. So yeah, it's what I was looking for and how rooms are built. You know, there's talent, obviously. That's a big part of recruiting, but the makeup of each player and how the room's made up, I think you have to be selfless in that room. They all know it. They all could be 1,000-yard backs. Right? They all know that. But we're better with all three of them being involved than we are with just one of them being involved. So, and I don't want to ignore Mari either. We call him Big Body. You know, we do think he's going to help us win games. So you can even say it's a four-headed monster. So it's super important, and we ask them to do so much. You know, it's not like we have just the third down back or just the inside zone back or just the scat back. You know, we ask all three of them to be three-tool backs. So they take great pride in that. There's always banter about, hey, let me have one of Solly's plays or let me have one of JJ's plays, you know, and we do. You know, they're all kind of interchangeable in a lot of what we do. So it's a position group we're going to lean on throughout the season offensively, and we expect them to play at a high level, and they can play faster and stronger and fresher, you know, when they're changing time. So you get late in games and you have fresh legs at running back. Like Isaiah hadn't had a ton of touches, hadn't had a ton of snaps, and we put him in. I can't remember exactly in the game, but I went over to him on the side and I said, now go close this thing, you know, and he ran with tremendous violence and aggression and was really, if we get one little screen block correctly, he's going to pipe it for a touchdown. So, you know, it was nice bringing in fresh legs in that time of the game as well.
Is that the plan, is to go committee there? I mean, I'd imagine it gets a little bit tougher if Javon continues to get 10 yards of pop. Is it kind of per?
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from Javon, but Javon also had two plays that, you know, were blocked perfectly, that it wasn't touched, you know, that were explosive plays. So, yeah, I think it is. It's by committee, and we have equal trust in all three of them that, you know, if we block it up right, if we fit it right, and they do their job, that they're going to have tremendous opportunities to make plays down the field. So we really don't have a designated role for any of them. It's more of a feel by really Mort, Danny, and I, you know, collectively talking through it on the headsets, and then giving them just opportunities. You know, some of it's random. It's like, hey, let's go with Isaiah this series. Let's go with Solly this series, just to kind of make sure they're getting the proper rest. So when they do go in there, they're fresh. And then, you know, we play some two-back stuff too. So there'll be opportunities for some two-back stuff or two of them in the game.
You had, I think, 8 of your 9 possessions go 8 or more plays. How important is that going to be against a Navy team that's probably going to try to grind you on the other side? And do you kind of maybe try to take some of the do you try to take some of the clock out just to give your offense or your defense a rest a little bit?
So I've seen that strategy work, and I've seen that strategy backfire. So I think what you do is you go, again, it goes back, and you guys probably think I'm just giving coach speak, but it really becomes an us versus us. It falls into that bucket. if we do us well, we typically can march the football if we just play our style of football. If we get caught up in trying to be something we're not, is where we've made mistakes before. So if we have longer drives now, I think last year, I don't have the data in front of me, we had 3 long drives against them that ended in, I think, 6 points total between 3 drives. So it can backfire if you're not finishing. I really don't care how long the drives are if they finish in touchdowns. You know, I try to keep it that simple. Like, I'll take a 1-play drive for a touchdown, and so would our defensive guys. You know, I think the rest can be important at times, but more important than rest is points. And if you're scoring touchdowns, if you're finishing with touchdowns, I don't think the length of the drive has that much of an impact on the overall game.
Last week I asked you about your shoes with the community service. Can you give us maybe a preview of what this
I don't
shoes
know
look
what
like
this shoe is this week, actually. You can ask me late in the week.
Okay.
I honestly don't know what this week's shoe is, but they did look good. So yeah. Well, it's a big deal. I continue to, and thank you for continuing to ask me the question, but part of teaching this group how to live for something bigger than themselves is really our focus on service. And it's not easy. I mean, those of you who've done it, you go out on your day off or an afternoon off, and instead of sitting on the couch or watching a movie or scrolling Instagram, you're out there getting your hands dirty. It's a hard thing to do, and our players have embraced that and really, as I've said many times, love this community, love the 99 neighborhoods downtown, and just really are invested in it. You know, you have some, in fact, today, I think we have a group out today serving. I think there's a group tomorrow afternoon after practice. So it's just something we take pride's the wrong word. We're invested in. It's just part of who we are, and a lot of these kids just really enjoy that part, enjoy that as much as any other part of being a Blazer.